welcome back to another episode of the Stripped Back podcast with Daisy Delight, where I am trying very, very hard to unpack the Sydney burlesque scene one rhinestone at a time. And I have here with me the gorgeous Bella Babydoll. How are you going, Bella?
Hi, I'm good. Thanks. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. I'm well. I'm excited to have you on the show. Thank you for joining me early on a Saturday morning. I appreciate it.
Yes, of course. I know it's not too early, but we're good. We're here.
We're here, we're ready to go. All right, so Bella, I have been doing a little bit of a stalk as I do with all of my guests before I have them on my show because I want to make sure that I have the most up-to-date information possible. So what I have here about you, and please tell me if I've missed anything. So you are a performer, you're a teacher, you're a co-producer of the Peaches and Cream variety show, and you're also a regular performer with the House of Fury.
Yes, that's all correct. Well done. You did your research.
Thank you. I tried my best. And I have to say as well, like, Bella, you've done so much in the scene. Like, I feel like for most people who've been to a burlesque show, you were probably a part of it in some way, shape, or form, like either performing on the stage or behind the scenes. So, I mean, it's a very big honor to have you as a guest on my show.
Oh my God, stop. You're so kind. Yeah. It's such a fun community, and I feel like once you dip your toe in, you kind of go all in, and kind of I feel like you can't just sort of casually go into it. I don't know, for me anyway, it's all consuming.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like once you taste a little bit of the sparkle, there's no going back. You're just like, no, I need everything to be sparkling now.
Completely. Oh my gosh. Yep.
Well, I'll get into the questions. So, first up, I want to know what was your first exposure to burlesque?
Yeah, it's really funny. I was actually across the other side of the world. So I'd never been to a burlesque show. My intro to burlesque, well, my only knowledge of burlesque, I think, which was everybody's, was the classic Christina Aguilera Cher movie.
Yep.
Not super accurate, but that's okay. So I was actually in Canada, in Montreal, and I was with a group of friends, and we all had to pick a day that was our day to plan the events. And someone else was like, okay, there's this really underground burlesque show. It's Star Wars themed. And we were all like, what are you where are we going? And it was in this really underground, dingy little bar, which I always feel is where the best shows are. And oh my God, it was just the best thing I'd ever seen. It was just absolutely cooked Star Wars burlesque acts. I was like, what the fuck is happening? It was just so ridiculous, and it was just so amazing. And they had so many performers. I think there were 20 performers, and not one of them played a main character in Star Wars, which is what I was like, this is so funny. Everyone had this obscure side character stripping to some banger 80s song, and I was just like, this is the best thing I've ever seen. What is happening? And then I was like, oh, I wonder if this is a thing in Sydney. I wonder if Australia has burlesque. That's how little I knew about any of it.
Wow.
But I remember, that night after we watched that show, I was Googling, and I was like, I want to do this. And it was just such a funny show for me, from my first thing to ever see. But I was just like, I must do this. I don't know what this is, but I must do it. So I was Googling classes, and then we got back to Sydney, and I signed up.
I love that so much. That's so random. I would have not expected that at all to be your first exposure to burlesque. Did you have a favorite act from the night?
Oh my gosh, I think there was a really there was a really funny Jabba the Hutt thing happening. I can't even it was just this whole big, I can't even specifically remember individual acts. I just remember having the best time of my life. And there was this amazing drag queen. I can't even remember who she played, but then we were all singing together. I don't know. I was just like, what is this magic? What the hell? It was just the best. Yeah.
That's so awesome. And that's the thing that I love about burlesque too, is that it is just it's so funny and comedic. It can be satire, it can be parody. It's something that can really bring everyone together. So yeah, that's pretty fitting that that's actually your first exposure. I like that. So you got back to Australia. You're like, oh my goodness, I need to be a part of this. I'm going to sign up for a class. So do you remember your first class? What was that like?
Yeah, it's like I don't know, it was one of those moments that like it's just stuck in my brain. It was like everything had a light. Like this is going to sound really like woo woo, like oh my God, we are all the universe. But honestly, it felt like everything like aligned. It was so wild. So
Mhm.
I signed up. I was like Googling. I also, this is when I lived in like Western Sydney. So I was like an hour out of the city. I found the Sky Sirens website and I remember just like the website itself was like aesthetically beautiful and perfect. And I was like, yes, this is what I want. I want to like live in this website. And so I like I would drive an hour, like it wasn't even it was like peak hours. So it was like fucking almost 2 hours every like Monday or whatever it was. Um and I remember like my first beginner class, and I just remember like it was just the most beautiful studio I'd ever seen. Like it just I just remember my teacher like gliding in, and I just like it's like she glid in, like glid is a word now. Glowed, I don't know, whatever the past tense of glide is, that's what she did. And it was Eva DeVore actually, and she
Oh
was just
yeah.
like so beautiful and she's stunning. Yeah, and we I remember the first lesson, it was all about like it was just about like holding your body in certain ways and just like standing and posing, making really simple shapes. And it was like a bit of tracing introduction, like, so really, really just that real core basic burlesque thing.
Mm.
Um, and I was just like, I just remember it so well because I felt so like connected to my body. Like
Mm.
I was like this, like I get it. Like I don't know, it was just this like full light bulb, like this is where I'm supposed to be. Like, and again, sorry, this is so woo-woo, but I was just like, this is everything. I just felt so correct, like which sounds so weird, but that's how I felt. And I had done um pole dancing for a few years, which I really loved. And I feel like doing pole dancing allowed me to get like much more in touch with my body anyway.
Uh-huh.
Because before that, oh my God, like I just was so disconnected from it. Um, but pole dancing just required like obviously so much strength and muscle and just like this when you need to get this move. And if you're starting to really like struggle with a move, it gets quite disheartening. And I'm sure anyone who's done pole would understand. But with burlesque, it was like I just loved the concept that it was how you wanted to do it, and it's what made you feel good, and everyone had their own version and their own style, and you didn't have to be this amazing dancer. Like you could be, but you didn't have to be. Like, and yeah, I just remember that hour of just like touching our bodies and standing beautifully and looking in the mirror, and like I was just like, this is fucking everything. And like, I was hooked, and I was like, I must do this forever. Like, that's how I felt. Like, it was so wild.
Even if it meant driving 2 hours every Monday.
Yes, I did that for so long. Like, I was like, worth it, worth it, worth it. And it was so worth it.
Oh, well, I mean, absolutely. I mean, if you compare, where you were to where you are now, I mean, yeah, definitely a return on investment.
That's so sweet. Yeah, I think if something feels so right and I don't know, anything that makes you feel really connected to yourself and like something that makes you feel that good immediately, like I just feel like you should pursue that, like it's meant for you, like there's a reason that it feels so good for you, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. So, were you ever in any troops? Was that a part of your up and comer experience?
Oh my goodness, yeah, I did so many troops. I did every type of troop you could do, which I think is really, really important. Like I'm a big advocate for it. Like not only different styles of like dance and like themes and things like that, but also with like different teachers, different instructors, because you take little bits from everybody and learn so many different things. And also sometimes you find out things about your style and what you like that you really didn't think was going to be your thing until you actually try it. So yeah, I did like classic troops and funny troops, and like I did like rock, we did like heaps of like rock ones, and I tried to do just like a big diverse range of them. And honestly, that was the best things, and different teachers and the way they explain things, or the way they connect to burlesque, but also like just the stage experience. Even if you start out just like performing to each other or to other classes, and then eventually you might perform on stage with your troupe, it's just like the most beneficial thing. I think if I just like, I think if I didn't do troops and I just went into like a solo, oh my God, like I was nervous enough as it was, but like, yeah, I just feel like they're so important. They're so valuable. And even just like, I remember like the first couple of troops I did where we performed like on stage somewhere, and like sitting backstage with like other performers that you admire or whatever, and just being like, okay, this is how backstage works, and just like noticing little things. And it just really is training you for like how you're going to behave backstage, and you know, how to be professional and all those sorts of things. Even if it's like a little thing, it's just like, yeah, it's so beneficial.
So how long was it between the first class that you ever did to actually going on stage for the first time?
Yes, that is such a good question. I started classes at the beginning of 2019, and I think my first like troupe stage performance was like probably like, I don't know, 2020, but it was like after the first lockdown, I think.
Oh.
Um, and then yeah, and then my first solo was like 2021, but that was the week before that second really long lockdown.
No.
Was extremely depressing and sad, because it was just like, oh my God, I did it. Yes. Oh my God, here I am. And then it was like, okay, no one's performing for like 6 months, and like everyone's sad now. And yeah, it's just like a bit of a shock. But yeah. So yeah, I guess like 2 years in like before I like really did my first solo stuff, but maybe like a year before I did like troopy performance things. Yeah.
Awesome. And did you ever have a favorite troupe from when you were a student?
Yes, I did have a favorite troupe. I did cell block tango in a troupe. Eva DeVore was our teacher for that. And that one was like a really significant one for me, because we had to apply to get into that troupe, and sort of like, you know, explain the reasons we wanted to be in it, and, you know, what we wanted to, how we were going to commit to training and things like that. And just the act of getting picked, and you don't, I mean, you're not always going to get picked, and like in getting rejected is like also very important in the burlesque world, and it doesn't mean anything bad. It just means that particular thing wasn't meant for you, and the next thing will be meant for you. Oh my gosh, like someone believes in me. Like it was just real. I think it was like really important for like my progress. Just that feeling of like, oh my gosh, like, because it was my dream troupe. I was like, cell block tango, like we all love it. Yeah, so that was like really, really exciting for me. And that was when our performance date was scheduled. Again, there was some sort of lockdown, or it was one of the first lockdowns. I don't know. It was amid the COVID mess. And Eva actually set up so that we could go get it professionally filmed instead. And it was just beautiful. It was the best experience. And then we like have that video now, and it's just like, oh, it was just the best. But that was my favorite. It was like really, it was choreography that really like tested and pushed me, which was really good for me, I think. And yeah, we really like bonded as a troupe, and we really worked hard, and yeah, it was really fun.
You know what? I actually think I remember you showing this video to a troupe that I was in. I remember coming into class one day and you guys are like on your Instagram all the way back at the very beginning, and you're just like, look, I did a routine to cell block tango. Here it is.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah, because I don't know, cell block tango came up somehow, and I was like,
Yeah.
guys, I was like, I'm very connected to this song. I love this song. Anyway, and then yeah, we scroll past, and I was like, let's watch the whole video. And I mean that song is like 7 minutes or something.
Yeah.
And they were like, I'm sorry. But it was the best. It was so, I just like, I'm so like, I don't know, it was so fun, and it was just like watching everyone. And I get, if you know that song, like everyone had like a really specific character, obviously. And we all also had to learn how to like lip sync, and that was a whole process. Yeah, I'll show that video to everybody. I love it. It's so fun.
It was. And all of us as well, I remember us all being so invested. You're just like, "It's okay, we can stop it, it's long." We're all just like, "No, we wanna see the whole thing." Like, so, how did you then get your burlesque name? How did Bella Babydoll come into existence?
I think finding your burlesque name also is like a really fun process and also really like imperative to what your whole character is going to be in the future. I think it's such a beautiful process, and I always, if I do like a beginner course or anything, I always get my students to like start thinking of their burlesque names like kind of early on,
I
because
like
I
that.
think it really helps you, it really helps you immerse yourself into that character. And especially at the beginning when you're still a bit nervous, you're still a bit like uncomfortable, and you're kind of faking that confidence for a period, which is totally normal. I think having another name is such a good way to do that, because you're like, well, I'm not that person. I'm not the person, who gets a bit awkward in group situations. I am Bella Baby Doll, and she doesn't give a shit. She's like the most confident human. Like, she eats men for breakfast. You know what I mean? So I think having a name is just like such a important process. And I mean, even if you're still kind of deciding and not sure, I'm also like a big advocate for like vision boards and sort of like how you would see your character, and then like finding names that kind of fit with that. So I actually started with like the most random name. Is like, well, I was so like, it's not a bad name at all, but it just was not me. And I think because I was just like, oh, I'll pick a name, and I didn't really like give it much thought.
Mm.
um, so my first name was like Honey. To be honest, I can't remember. It was like Honey Heartbreaker, or like Honey Heartthrob, or something like that. It was definitely an alliteration because I love those. Um, so it was a cute name, but it never like felt like me. If
Mm.
that makes sense. I never performed under it, but it was just like I had it for a couple of weeks when I started my first Instagram, and was like, "Oh, this is my name," and I was trying to like, but it never really felt correct. Um, and I was like, "Yeah, like this doesn't feel quite right." And then I did a vision board. I did, and like I just remember it was just like a lot of like pink bows and super femme, like sugar baby, like images, and just this kind of, but this underlying um I don't know how to describe it, but kind of that whole notion of like a siren, like very cute and beautiful, and will like lure the men in, but then will like absolutely tear them apart.
Yeah.
um and then yeah, so, and that was definitely like, that was just the vision that kept sort of repeating. And growing up, I always like, everyone would always say, "Oh, you're so cute," because I was always like really short. I always had like a younger face, and I used to hate it, like detest it. Like, I was like, I don't want to be
Mm.
cute. Like, I want to be, I want to be like the other girls. They're so, everyone calls them pretty, or like,
Mm.
it's just, so I hated that thing of like, "Oh, you're cute." I hated it. But then I thought like, okay, maybe I should just embrace it, and like the power it actually gives you, because it's kind of like, it's the ultimate villain, right? If you're cute and sweet and innocent looking, you can get anything you want. And that's kind of like what the vision board ended up like kind of representing. Um,
I love
and
it.
I, yeah, and I feel like the word baby doll really started connecting with me, because I was like, there's just this hint of irony to that word to me. Like, obviously it's like, it's a bit of a complicated word, but I'm owning it in the sense that I'm using it like, ironically. It's like a little bit of satire. It's that whole kind of, oh, like, what a baby doll, like this sweet innocent little thing that like, men can use and whatever. But to me, I was like, she's a baby doll, but she's going to be like the ultimate villain. Like, she's going to be like absolutely stealing men's money and possibly murdering them. And I feel like that's
Yeah.
kind of the theme to like most of my acts. And so that's why I just liked the word baby doll for that reason. But I was like, I want to like own that word and like make it more powerful, and like put all this meaning into it. So yeah, so I connected with baby doll first. And then I just really liked Bella. I don't know. It wasn't an alliteration. I loved Twilight growing up. There wasn't much meaning behind the Bella part, but the baby doll part, definitely. I just thought she's going to be this like cute little sweet, absolute like villain. And that's kind of what she is, I feel.
I love it. Well, it definitely lives up to that. Also, can I just say, I absolutely love the fact that, Baby Doll has all of this lore to it and this meaning, and Bella, it's like, she's a Twilight girly, like,
Always, I like if anyone ever asks me, I tell this story and they're like, and what about Bella? I'm like, Twilight. I don't know what to say.
also honored that I have the exclusive there about your first ever burlesque name, because I remember on that lesson when we were watching Cell Block Tango, you were like, "Oh, I used to have another name," and we were like to you, "What is it? What was your old name?" You were like, "I'm not gonna say, I can't tell you." So now I'm just like, haha, I've got the exclusive.
You got it now, you got it. Oh my God. Yeah, I think I felt weird about it after because I was like, God, that just is so not me. But
Mm,
like, I mean, who cares? Like, but I don't know. I think I just felt like yeah, even though again, I didn't perform under it, but because I kind of had it as my name for a couple of weeks and I was like, I felt a bit like a fraud. I know that sounds so silly because I think it's just because it didn't connect with me. It had no meaning to me. And I think
yeah,
that's like your burlesque name should have some sort of meaning, even if it's just to you. And I mean, again, like I've like explained this whole lore behind Baby Doll, but it's like no one else is gonna fucking know that. Like I hope they can figure that out. But like again, it's very complicated. But it has a lot of meaning to me. Like I know why
yeah,
I have it. And I think, yeah, if anything has that, as long as it connects to you, then it feels really good and it feels right.
yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so awesome. Okay, so you've got this character, the ultimate villain, the cutesy baby doll who'll take men's money. So now you've got all of that. What was your first ever solo act?
Yeah, actually, it was very on brand, I will say, which is so funny. So I did it to Sugartown by Nancy Sinatra. I don't know if you've heard it. It's
Oh,
just, yeah, it's just a cutie little 60s bop. It's just gorgeous. Um, and it's just about her being in Sugartown, just having the best time. She's just, yeah, she's living it up. But the act started with my husband being dead, my very old husband. I had a friend like Photoshop a wedding photo of me and this like decrepit old man. Um, and I was basically mourning him. I mean, I've carried this brand on so strong from that point on, but yeah, so I'm mourning this husband, and then I find his vast fortune that he's left me, and there's just like a whole lot of cash. And then I was all dressed in this pink little baby doll, and I had like cash flying everywhere, and I was just living it up. And that was my first solo, and yeah, I feel like it was perfect for me.
yeah, literally, like from day one being that baby doll nightmare of burlesque, as you call yourself.
Yes, yeah, the brand was strong. I was like, this is what I want. And I was like, people will understand this baby doll lore now that they've seen this act.
Yeah.
Like it was just,
It's very Anna Nicole Smith. I love it.
yes. Oh my God, my biggest inspo. Love her so much.
Did you do that act many times, or was that sort of like a one and then let's move on, or?
So I did it it used to be the Bang Bang Bandit variety show. So it was
Yes.
Betty Bang Bang and Betty Bandit had a show.
Icon.
And that was my first yeah, that was where I did my first solo. So I did it there. And then I did it a couple more times in like the next week. I think
Oh,
there was I can't remember the shows now. I feel like everything's changed so much even in a few years. But I did it a couple more times in the next week and I was like, "Oh my God, this is the best. Like I love this life." And then that's when the second lockdown started. So then
no.
everything just kind of died a little bit. But then after that lockdown finished, I think I did it a couple more times and then I kind of started making some more stuff after that. But I definitely performed it like yeah, yeah, a few times. And I think if lockdown didn't happen, it probably would have been a fair bit more.
Oh yeah, bring it back, bring it back. People need to see it. So, I've seen you perform many, many times, and I don't think I've ever identified a fail, in your performances. However, I know that everyone goes through it. So, if you don't mind sharing, what would you say has been your biggest onstage fail?
Oh my goodness, there are just so many. It's just countless. I think we all constantly like there's been lots of like little trips or stumbles and things like that, which are completely totally normal.
Mm.
And sometimes we think something's just like a huge fail, and then you come off stage and everyone's like, what are you talking about? Like I didn't see anything. But I think at the beginning we did a few shows where it was more just like tech fails, I guess. And I
Um,
guess just being like a newer performer, you don't really know how to handle that at the beginning, if that makes sense. It's sort of like you kind of feel like, oh well, I got to keep going, and like we can't seem like we're making a mistake or something's gone wrong, where I think if you kind of like embrace that, it's a lot easier. But I know we
mm.
did a show like very early on, but it was a bit of a group routine. Um, and the the volume, I just remember we were on stage and the volume was like something had happened with the music. I don't know. But the music was like whisper quiet. Like it wasn't even just like, oh, we could probably turn that up a bit. It was like you could barely hear it. But for some reason, I was in like a bit of a group with two other girls, and for some reason, we just committed to like doing the routine. But it was so incredibly awkward, and I don't know why. It was just so incredibly awkward. It was so quiet. You could hear our feet shuffling around like so
Oh,
loudly. Like the poor audience were just like going, what is going on? I remember there was this one angel in the front row and she was so supportive. She was like clapping along and I was like, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever. And I like halfway through the song, my friend who was also in the routine with us, I think she was just like feeling so awkward with how quiet it was that she just let out. She was just like, woo, like really, really loud. And I was just like I almost lost it. Like it was just the worst, like most awkward experience. It was so funny. So that was like probably comes to mind as like a bit of a fail, but luckily we got the music fixed after that and everything was fine. But I
yeah.
think we were all kind of new to the scene, so we were like, let's just commit and let's just keep smiling and like no one will know. But like, yeah, it was pretty funny.
Bless you. Just like the show must go on, shuffling feet.
Literally.
Oh, I love that there was a woman in the front row that was like really still committed to it. Like that's great,
Oh,
you know.
she's such a queen. I was like, we love audience members like that. Like,
Yeah.
what an angel. Like, I was like, everyone else you could tell was just like, why have I paid money for this? Like, what is going on? But she was just like so supportive. I was like, okay, yay, we can do this.
Wait, so do you have a favorite costume from your time in burlesque so far?
Um, I don't know if I've had a favorite. I feel like they get sort of better and better as I learn more tricks and things like that with costuming. Um, I'm not really a DIY girly, but I am trying, and I found that when I actually do really put in the effort to making something beautiful or like trying to be a bit creative with a costume, they're kind of the ones I lean towards as like more my favorite because I think it's just kind of like, oh my God, I made this. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of, and I think I mean, obviously the original burlesque babes back in the day, like they were on tiny tiny budgets, they were making their own costumes, and that was kind of the charm of burlesque. So I think even if you aren't like this incredible DIY person, there's still a lot you can surprise yourself with, and even like learn, and it actually is like incredibly satisfying and like also incredibly good just for like your mind, like just to be creative like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a couple of my costumes recently that are just sort of more like my classic costumes that I committed to putting in a lot more time, and like I've started to learn how to like bead them and like obviously rhinestone and just try to make them as beautiful looking as they can be. And then yeah, I don't know, you just feel like a sense of pride with them. So I guess they're probably like my favorite.
Can you describe one of the most recent ones that you've done?
Oh yeah, I have like, oh yes, actually, I have one. It's like a gold one that I'm still putting the last little bits on it, but um, I started with the corset and I just decided, I don't know why, but I decided, oh, I'm gonna hand sew like a million tiny bits of lace to this corset, and like
Yeah.
I don't know, I started just for something to do so I could sort of use my hands. And um so I started that, and it was just like this really, really long like labor of love, but it was actually really fun. And because I really took my time with it, um, and then I added like just like all these extra things. Once I was done, I was like, oh, what could I add that would look beautiful? And I just sort of kept building it slowly. And yeah, I'm still putting the last little bits together for the whole costume, but it's turned out really pretty. Like I'm just so happy with it. And I was like, oh my God, I guess it's not something I thought I would ever do, is like make or like be creative in that way, because it's not really my forte, but it actually is like so satisfying.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess practice makes perfect, right? So if you're forcing yourself to do these things over and over, you're gonna make some incredible things.
Totally. Yes, absolutely.
All right. So when you're on stage, would you say that you have a signature move?
So yeah, this is funny. My students have like well, they've named one move that I do called the Bella Bounce.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's really just a bounce that I'm sure every performer does every time they're on stage, just like a cute little like bounce when you're on the floor. So definitely not an original move, but I think the thing with that is like obviously you're not gonna, I mean, it's very rare that you're going to create some breaking new move that no one's ever done, unless you're Simone Biles and you're like doing a million flips. So I guess everything has been done, and we rework and we reuse things, and we take inspiration from all different performers. And but I think the thing is how the way you do it should look very unique to you, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
And I think it kind of does. I think you can do the same move as someone else and make it so unique to you that it looks completely different. Yeah. So I don't know. I do like a good bounce. Yeah, that's kind of always in there.
Yeah. I feel like I do very strongly associate that with you as well. Just the little giggle and the bounce. I'm just like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's very Bella coded.
Yay. I'm so glad.
Do you have somebody that you would say is your biggest influence in burlesque?
Yeah. Honestly, all of my friends that I work with.
Oh,
I honestly like, I feel so lucky every time I'm backstage, like, and every time I get to go to a show, because I'm like, what the hell? Like, I just go to work and see all my amazing friends, and like I feel so inspired by everyone. Which is a bit of a cop out answer, but I think my one of my biggest inspirations would definitely be Porcelain Alice. And
yeah.
I saw her very early on when like I came back to Sydney and was like, what's burlesque? And then, started going to some shows. Um, and yeah, seeing Porcelain on stage, I was just like, oh my goodness, like this is just divine. And then having her as a teacher straight after that, pretty much, I was like, what's going on? Um, and yeah, just so inspired by the way she could just command a crowd, I guess. And it's just funny because, like, obviously my style is completely different to Alice's. But I take a lot of inspiration from her, from yeah, the way she does command a crowd, even though it's a completely different way that I would do it. It was just also like the way she taught me and the advice she gave and things like that. So, and just seeing her work so hard, and yeah, I don't know, I take a lot of inspiration from her, but also I take a lot of inspiration from like, yeah, all my friends. Everyone's amazing.
Yeah. I love that. And I love how you say that, she commands a room, but it's in a different way to what you would. It's kind of similar to what you were saying at the beginning of the interview about how getting advice and experience from all different kinds of performance is really important, because at the end of the day it helps you realize things in yourself that you probably wouldn't have found before, right?
Completely. Yeah, oh my goodness, like totally, like yeah, some of my biggest like influences as teachers have been people that, yeah, have just such a different style to me, but that's probably not the thing you take from them. They might just say something that resonates so clearly with you. And yeah, watching them, you're going, okay, like why has everyone stopped, and like why is everyone really watching this moment? And you just see the way they, it might just be the way they look at the audience, or it might just be the way they stop. And yeah, it's just, there's so many little things that, yeah, you can just take on little bits from everybody and really like use that to create your own unique thing. It's yeah.
Yeah. It's so sad, but we're coming to the end of the interview already, which is wild. So
Oh,
thank you for your
babes.
time.
Thank you so much. Thank you, babe.
Good. So, one thing that I have on this show as a tradition is that we always spotlight others before we promote ourselves. So, is there anybody in the scene right now, another artist or another show that you'd recommend people check out?
Yes, I would spotlight my bestie in the business, which is Miss Eli Fury. She is an amazing fire performer. I think she's just doing amazing things with her teaching and all her students, and her performances are just incredible. So she is the producer of House of Fury, and there's many shows within that. So definitely check her out and her shows out. She's amazing. And also, I would also shout out my other bestie in the business, which is Mama Medusa, who is an incredible drag slash burlesque performer. They are just, again, they're also doing amazing things with their teaching, and also just an absolutely killer performer. So, yeah, definitely check them out as well.
Gorgeous. All right. Now, the moment we've all been waiting for, Bella Babydoll, what are you up to right now? Where can people catch you?
Oh, plug, plug, plug. Okay. So I've got a lot of shows coming up, and everything is on my bio link in my Instagram. So follow me on the gram. But I would very much like to promote slash plug my Sydney Fringe shows that I'm going to be in September. So there is a show called Tickle and Tease, which is running from the 10th to the 15th of September. It's just going to be a really funny burlesque, kind of a variety show. Everyone's bringing something different. Everyone's bringing something kind of cooked, which is really fun. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I have a beautiful troupe, which Daisy is in, and yeah, they're going to be doing a gorgeous routine. It'll be really, really fun. And the other Sydney Fringe show is after the Tickle and Tea show. We've got Something Wicked. That's running from the 17th to the 29th of September. It's going to be um, a very interesting, dark but sexy but also funny show. It's all about witches. It's going to have some amazing, like, acrobatic amazing things, and fire and burlesque, and honestly just so much goodness. So I'm really, really keen to perform that and for people to come and see it.
Hell yeah. I was an observer of the last Something Wicked at last Fringe season, and I can attest
Oh,
it is a killer show. It is awesome.
yeah. Oh, fun. Well, it's we've stepped it up like tenfold, so I'm really keen for people to see it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Bella, for your time this morning. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, cutie. Sorry that I talked so long, but here we are.
Hey, you were so fine. Don't worry about it. Now, if the people want to see more of you, your socials is Instagram at Bella Babydoll.
Yeah, it's Bella, two underscores. This is just to make it complicated.
Yeah.
And then Baby Doll, but without the A. So BBY doll.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah.
It's really hard to get that name on Instagram. Everyone's taken it.
It's all good. No worries. Well, awesome. Thank you so much, Bella, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Beautiful. Thanks, Daisy.